they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Now, with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Okay, let's get ready to get into it. So, first of all, hey, Gwendolyn. Hey, DSB. Okay, DSB has started us off with some donations to the channel. DSB has gifted 25 memberships to the channel. Okay, thank you so kindly, my dear brother. I appreciate you, as does everyone else, I'm sure. You all be sure to shout out DSB for all of these gifted gifted memberships. Okay, there's another one. And there is another one. Now that's 25 gifted memberships. You all be sure to show your appreciation. Okay, thank you so much, beloved. I really, truly appreciate you and your support for this channel and for helping others to have memberships. Okay, peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. All right, hey, Leon said the Queen is on her way. That's right, I'm here. Latasha, Lisa's Real Spill is here. Juju be in the house. All right, shout out to my moderators putting in work. Okay, so let's get into it, Latasha. And everybody hit that like button. Now, before we get started, let's have a brief word from our sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
With that all being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes oil for your hair at Etsy.com. You can also find, just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, and well, we've got some news on Klaus Schwab. All right, so we'll get into that in a minute. Thank you. Hold on. Thank you, Vince I Am, okay, for putting that in the chat. All right, so we'll talk about that in a second. But now let's talk about Trump, honey, because Trump has lost his mind. Now, first things first. First off, I told you all about what happened yesterday when they had that Protect White Americans rally with the nefarious Jake Lang. So now it has been posted. Hold on, it's all over social media. DSB just gifted us another 10 memberships. Thank you, beloved. All right. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, Jake Lang and his cohorts are, basically trying to go in on Jeff Metcalf, the father. Okay, hold on. Let me take that out of there. There was something on there that I didn't want to show on the screen. Okay, luckily I clicked off in time. Okay, it was Justin Bieber. They've got him supposedly on some illegal substances and dancing and whatnot. Anyway, that's another story for another day. So anyway, here's what they're saying now. The organizers of yesterday's Protect White Americans rally are now claiming that Austin Metcalf's dad sent his handler to attack, destroy, and humiliate them. Okay, and they said that's nonsense. And then they show the video that I showed you all already on yesterday, and how it was extremely respectful. And it was. That man didn't say anything disrespectful or crazy. He basically put the phone, for those of you who missed it, he basically put the phone there for them to hear. Hold on. Thank you, DSB. DSB has gifted another 2 memberships. Okay, there's one. And then there's another. Thank you, beloved. Now, you all have to grab the memberships. Okay, I don't have anything to do with who gets the memberships. Once he gets the memberships, it's up to you to snatch one. Okay, it's up to you all to snatch one. All right, thank you, beloved, again for these memberships. I'm sure everybody appreciates it. I know I do. Okay, so and by the way, I will be posting something for members only on this channel on tomorrow. Okay, so now with that all being said, they're saying that this man came there to had his handler come to attack, destroy, and humiliate them. Honey, they attacked. Well, they didn't attack, but they destroyed and humiliated themselves, looking like whole fools. How are you sitting here trying to spew hate and division and trying to act as though Black citizens are going around here just doing nefarious things to white folk, okay? When really, if we're really going to go by history and even present, okay, history from the past decade or so, we can all assume or agree or say with facts, proof, and receipts that the most hate crimes have been perpetuated against us. Not by us, but against us, okay? So I find it all interesting when people try to act like the victim is none other than Black folk, okay? It's someone other than Black folks. So please pay attention, honey. This is all crazy. But now they're upset and going around here saying nefarious things about the man. Okay, so anyway, now let's get into this whole thing about Trump. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. First of all, let me go to this speech that Trump gave saying America will remain a beacon of faith. And this is what he said on about the Easter holiday yesterday. Let's get into it because Trump needs to sit down somewhere. First of all, America is a beacon of faith. That's what he's saying. Okay. Abdul Ali Muhammad says, America has never been unified. American Airlines. Yeah, America has never been unified. This is, in fact, the divided snakes, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the footage and listen to the lies falling from Trump's lips yet again.
President Trump issued a Palm Sunday message ahead of Holy Week. He said, and I'm quoting now, "This Holy Week, Melania and I join in prayer with Christians celebrating the crucifixion and resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, the living Son of God who conquered death, freed us from sin, and unlocked the gates of heaven for all of humanity. We pray that America will remain a beacon of faith, hope, and freedom for the entire world. And we pray to achieve a future that reflects the truth, beauty, and goodness of Christ's eternal kingdom in heaven."
I'm sorry, beloveds, but I know good and darn well Trump didn't say that the gates of heaven were unlocked for all of humanity. I'm sorry, but I doubt there's a place for him. Okay, please pay attention.
Jonathan Morris, our resident theologian, joins me now. I thought that was, I'm going to say, the most Christian-centered statement I've ever heard from any president. What say you?
Yeah, what I would say is somebody else wrote that for him. And that's how it's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have experts on theology writing theological statements. But in this case, the president did the right thing. He established a faith office. In other words, he's taking religion seriously.
Now they know they need to sit down some damn where. Okay, do you want to hear how they cape for Trump on Fox News? How these conservatives just sit up there and just tell all these lies and go along with his lies? Okay, I find it also interesting. Okay, Chosen One said, wasn't it also 420 yesterday? Honey, the fact that it was 420 on Easter Sunday is diabolical, okay? That's crazy work. Yes, it was 420 on Easter yesterday. All right. How many of you all were sitting up there smoking with your Easter outfits on? How many of you had on your Sunday go meeting clothes while you sat there smoking? Now, with that all being said, Nessa G said the lies they tell. Exactly. Okay, but so here's the thing. They're sitting there acting like Trump is such a, talking about, oh, he's taking religion seriously. Trump's the devil himself. How is he taking religion seriously? Make that make sense, okay? It's making none whatsoever.
You're not going to have the president write an economic statement, right? A detailed economic statement. No, you're going to have somebody an economist, and then he's going to sign off on that. He has signed off on this, and you're exactly right, Stu. This is not only a very Christian statement, but it's theologically very sound. It's the center of Christianity.
And you don't hear that from other presidents. I mean, this is Palm Sunday he put this out.
Now, I want you all to pay attention to the BS. Florida native said, why you hate Trump so much? I don't hate Trump. I just don't like him. There's a difference. I don't hate Trump. I just don't like him. And at the end of the day, why? That should be obvious, beloved. He's nefarious. He's a man of lawlessness. He doesn't go by the rules. He thinks he's above the law. Okay. He thinks that he can do what everybody else can't. And clearly they're allowing him to do so. Okay. I don't like Trump because he is violating the Constitution. He has sent that man over there to El Salvador. Now, y'all could say, well, we don't need to worry about immigrants. Well, maybe we don't. But the bottom line is if he can send that man over there and leave him there, first of all, let's get it straight. Okay, that man was not just simply taken over there and dropped off by mistake. That man was abducted and trafficked to a foreign country, forced to do free prison labor. Okay, for how long? Who knows? And then the way that they tried to lie and cover up everything and put out props to make it look as though Abrego, Garcia and Senator Von Hollen were sitting there sipping margaritas, okay, and having a good time. Like he's over there enjoying himself. But mind you, a couple of days before Von Hollen came, they removed the man from the prison and put him somewhere else, housed him elsewhere, probably cleaned him up to make him look like everything's all fine. But he clearly had said the man is traumatized, and who wouldn't be? Ripped away from your family, okay, and then put in some godforsaken prison where you don't know how long you're going to be there, if you'll ever be allowed to leave. No due process, no nothing. This is absolutely insanity. And the fact that some people don't find a problem with that is crazy to me, because it could absolutely be you next. Okay? Trump is setting precedent with these things that he's doing. Please pay attention.
And Palm Sunday with other presidents, they dance around the issue of Christianity.
The religion of political correctness overtook our country for a very long time. And you had presidents putting out blah, vanilla statements on things that you would never do about economics or some other like serious theme. And in this case, President Trump is saying, no, we're not going to do blonde. We're not going to do vanilla. If I'm going to do an Easter statement, it's going to be about Easter.
I thought it was terrific. I think it made a huge impression. All the people that I talked to, who I know are Christians, read it, looked at it, and said, that's what we want to see from our president. Anyway, you have a new special out. It's on Fox Nation. It's called Pope Francis, A Life in Christ. In the special, we see you at the Vatican with your newborn son, and you hand him to Pope Francis. Watch.
I had the blessing of being in the Vatican with my newborn son, and Pope Francis came up and grabbed him and kissed him.
Father.
It's all genuine.
You know, that's a remarkable moment, Jonathan. What
Yeah,
else?
I get teared up just watching it, honestly, right now, and that's because I'm a former Catholic priest.
Yes,
I was
you are.
in the Vatican for many years as a priest. I did not organize that moment. People brought me up who did not know me. Pope Francis came up directly to me, picked up my baby. Had he known that I was a former Catholic priest, I don't know if he would have done it. But I think he would have. I think he would have, because I said it's genuine. Now, I disagree with Pope Francis on many things. In this special, you're going to see some of that. It's a deep analysis of the.
Okay, I've heard enough of the foolishness. At the end of the day, the fact that he can sit there and admit blatantly that he's a former Catholic priest, but sitting up here acting as though Trump is so religious, okay, all of a sudden Trump's pious. I have no idea what makes them tell such nefarious lies. But anyway, it's what they said. So anyway, let's talk about it. Because now they say Democrat at center of El Salvadorian saga tells Trump's administration to put up or shut up. All right. And that's coming straight from Chris Van Hollen, the senator who went over there himself to pay a visit. And he says that they tried to do everything they could to prevent him from seeing this man. Okay. But then they realized quickly that it wouldn't be a good look if they did not.
Van Hollen's just back in the U.S. after traveling to El Salvador to meet with a man the DOJ has admitted should not have been deported to El Salvador, though he could have been deported elsewhere. The senator shared this photo of his sit-down meeting with Kilmar Abrego Garcia on Thursday. Joining us now, Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen. Thank you for coming in to speak with us today about this.
Shannon, good to be with you.
Okay, so I know that I watched your remarks at Dulles Airport after you landed, and you said it's time for this administration to put up or shut up. So I want to talk about the evidence they've put together that they say shows an MS-13 connection for Mr. Garcia. They point to this Prince George's County Police Department gang report from March of 2019. They said he was observed wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie with rolls of money covering the eyes, ears, and mouth of the presidents, meaning of the clothing within gangs is to represent see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. They say officers also contacted a past proven and reliable source of information who advised that Abrego Garcia is an active member, this was at the time, of MS-13 with the Westerns clique. He is the rank of Chicao with the moniker of Chele. So,
did y'all hear this? He's the rank of Cheke with a moniker of Chele. Are y'all hearing this foolishness? Okay, are y'all hearing this? Now they're saying this man was in a gang and all of this. They're not showing us any proof. In fact, it's been debunked. And they're just saying whatever they can say at this point. Why are we supposed to believe anything they say when we've caught them in a myriad of lies? Okay, and then they talk about this informant who told them that, and since when do gang members wear Chicago Bulls paraphernalia? I'm sorry. Has anybody ever heard of that? Once in the chat. So people that are in gangs now dress in Chicago Bulls insignia. That's what they do. Florida native said Trump wouldn't lie. If you don't sit down somewhere, Florida native, because clearly you're trolling the queen at this point. Ashley said the senator don't go this hard for black people shot down, hung by the KKK. Well, none of them do. If we're being honest, none of them do. But at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with that. Let's stick to the topic, because as I said, whether or not you agree with Abrego Garcia being sent over there and Trump refusing to allow him to come back, like I said, next time it could be you. Let's not forget that Trump already said out of his mouth on more than one occasion that the prisoners or criminals from the United States should be sent over there next. Okay? And he would probably start with somebody already in prison. Okay? Please pay attention at the end of the day. DSB says Shannon Sharpe accused of SA breaking news. Honey, this isn't breaking news anymore because I already reported on this. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for that, and also for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. For anybody that missed it, I uploaded a video about Shannon Sharpe being accused of SA, but also him exposing his own self with a Freudian slip. You might want to go check that out. I uploaded it maybe a couple of hours ago. Also, if you missed the morning broadcast, okay, with the new Diddy up information, please go and check that out also. Okay, y'all know the Queen be hard at work, so if you can't keep up, if you're not caught up with the broadcast, just go back and check them out at your leisure. Now, back to what I was saying. This is all so nefarious. And thank you, DSB, again, beloved. Okay, so let's get back into this.
So that's what they've put out there. One law enforcement source I talked to said, if you don't want to be associated with the gang, you're not going to wear the indicative clothing, you're not going to hang out with them. This is the report of the police department from 2019.
So, Shannon, they need to put up or shut up in court. Let me read you, and I brought it with me. I want to read you what Judge Zinnes of the Federal District Court just found on April 16th.
Now, this man is about to drop receipts and invoices. Trump is a liar who lies, and so are the people in his cabinet. That includes Pam Bondi, Carolyn Levitz, Pete Hegseth. I'm calling all of them liars. Elon Musk. They're all liars, in my opinion. But let's continue.
She said that they had presented, quote, no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or to any other terrorist activity, unquote. If they've got evidence, you put it before the court. Don't spread it all over social media if you don't think it can stand the test of court scrutiny. They're trying to change the subject. The subject, as you said, was they are disobeying the court order, and they admitted themselves in court that he'd been wrongfully abducted and taken to El Salvador. Instead of fixing the problem, they fired the lawyer.
Well, he's on suspension, and I did ask the Attorney General about that.
They upbraided him.
Okay, so this finding, though, was accepted by an immigration judge. Determined in April of 2019, says the determination that the respondent is a gang member appears to be trustworthy and is supported by other evidence in the record.
Here's the thing. Let me just make something abundantly clear to everyone that's listening. Even if this man was a criminal, which he isn't, they say that he has no criminal convictions. And I find that interesting because Trump has 34 criminal convictions, okay, that everybody knows about. Okay, Trump can't even travel outside of the United States because felons, okay, they cannot travel outside the United States. They can't go to certain places. They don't let felons in. He can't go to Canada while he's sitting there talking about making them the 51st state. Okay, he needs to sit down somewhere. But here's the thing. Now, TC Dad said, even if he was a criminal, preach queen. Exactly. Because here's the thing. Even if you are a criminal, you still are afforded certain rights. You still are allowed due process. You're supposed to be. So even if this man was a criminal, they've already said that he could stay here. Legally, he was allowed to stay here. He'd been here 14 years. Even if he was a criminal, you can't just pack this man up, Trump, and ship him off to some foreign land, put him in a prison without just cause, without probable cause, okay, without having convicted him of something. You can't just do that and be within the bounds of the law and the Constitution. Now, if we want to go against that, then go right ahead. But at the end of the day, this is all just crazy and asinine. And the fact that Trump thinks that he can get away with it, it really shows you the mindset of this psychopath. Because Trump is a psychopath. I don't care who's mad. That's what he is. Okay? That's exactly what he is.
And then from there was in December of 2019, on appeal, the Board of Immigration Appeals also said the immigration judge appropriately considered allegations of gang affiliation against the respondent in determining that he has not demonstrated that he is not a danger to property or persons. And in that proceeding, legal proceeding, the burden is on him to prove that. And the judge, the appeal both say he didn't do it, and they believe the evidence they saw from police.
As you say, and you just indicated that, they never affirmatively found that he was a member of MS-13. They never, of course, charged him with any crime. And what the judge ultimately did in the immigration case was say that his life would be at risk from other gangs, if he was returned to El Salvador, which is why he got a work permit, which is why the members of his union, the sheet metal workers, are demanding his return. You know, you don't get a work permit if you are not legally in the country at the time.
He wasn't legally here. We agree to that.
No,
He's never legally
he
been
came
here.
at age 16, right, with his family. And no one's contested the fact that he fled El Salvador because they were afraid of gang violence. And then he came to the United States. And in 2019, the courts found that to send him back to El Salvador would put his life at risk. And the Trump administration did not appeal that decision, which is why he got a work permit and why he's working to raise his 3 kids. So let's be really clear that the fundamental issue right now is the fact that the Trump administration is ignoring court orders. And if you deny one person their constitutional rights, you threaten the constitutional rights of everybody. I can't understand why conservatives, or certainly libertarians, would accept the idea that someone can be deprived of their liberty.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I've been telling you. Some of you are knuckleheads. Okay, some of y'all are knuckleheads. Okay, don't get mad. It had to be said. Some of you are. Some of you are just like of the mindset, oh, we don't care. He's an immigrant. He doesn't fight for black people, this, that, and the third. Here's the thing that you need to pay attention to. This man, by the fact that he's fighting for Abrego Garcia, this could impact you. They have to stop Trump. He's an idiot at the wheel. Okay? He's an idiot at the wheel. Please pay attention. Okay? I'm just telling you all, this could impact other people. You heard what the man said. If you're taking away the liberties and rights from one person, you could take it away from everybody that's a citizen. And that's what I've been telling you all. And that's similar to what Dr. King said when he said an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. Okay, so just because it ain't happening to you, don't sit up here and think. Okay, don't sit up here and blindly think that, oh, well, it's not my problem. It's not happening to me. Well, you know, it could be very much so, because Trump's not trying to set precedents. I'm telling y'all now.
Without due process.
Did you ask him if he has any association with MS-13?
I did not ask him directly because he's answered that question repeatedly, as his lawyers have. My purpose in going there was to, number one, see if he was alive, see if he was healthy, take his story. As I said, they have litigated this case on MS-13, and it was the judge in the most recent case who says, put up or shut up. So that's what I say to President Trump and others, put up or shut up.
Hearing these reports from Prince George's County Police and from the immigration judge and the appeals court in the immigration setting, do you worry, though, that you are sticking your neck out for somebody who maybe down the line is proven to be connected to MS-13?
I want to be very clear. I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for the man's rights, his constitutional rights to due process. And the proper place to litigate that is in the courts. And the most recent federal district court judge that looked at this, Judge Zinnes, said that the administration had presented no evidence of his connection to MS-13 or, by the way, to any other criminal gang or terrorist activity.
Okay.
So again, all the issues you raised, why aren't they presenting those to the courts? So again, put up or shut up in court, which is where we litigate these things.
Okay, so you know that there's been a lot of attention on 2 Maryland women who are angel moms in the sense that no connection to Mr. Garcia at all, but in 2 separate cases involving people who were in the U.S. and in Maryland illegally, violently raped and killed their daughters. This is Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, one of your constituents.
I love how every single side hustle expert says this.
Okay, so with that all being said, you know, Trump is still trying to keep that man away from here. Pam Bondi has said that that man is never going to be allowed back in the United States. That's what she said. She said he is never going to be allowed back into the United States. Okay. Now, mind you, this is after they've already admitted that they made a mistake. But I guess now they're trying to walk it back like, oh, no, we meant to send him back because he wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. Okay, please pay attention. This is all so crazy. Now, with that all been said, let me pull up this next receipt. Hold on, beloveds. Now, here are some calls, some groups and organizations that have been calling for this man to be returned. Okay. And then even Pam Bondi or somebody, I was either Pam Bondi or Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, is one of the two, were trying to imply that this man doesn't even have a job or whatnot. Yes, he does. Okay. He absolutely has a job. At the end of the day, he's a member of the SMART union, as far as I have read also. Now, see here, CTA calls for the immediate safe return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, mind you, CTA is they're wanting him to be returned. Okay, now here's what they have to say. Last month, federal agents mistakenly seized Kilmar Abrego Garcia's transporting him to an El Salvador prison where he faces harsh conditions. The Trump administration has acknowledged the error, but is defying a federal judge's order to return him to the United States, arguing that he is in the custody of El Salvador and acting like they can't do anything about it. Okay. Now, Abrego Garcia, a first-year apprentice at the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers, okay, also known as SMART, okay, Local 100 with no criminal record, has lived in the U.S. since he was 15 and was legally authorized to work. Okay, so this is just absolutely deplorable. Like I said, absolutely deplorable what Trump is sitting up here doing. Now, this isn't the only organization that has requested his safe return. Okay, they're not the only ones. There's another one as well. Okay, and here's what they say. Smart rallies as Supreme Court blocks return of deported sheet metal worker. Pay attention. They said he's a sheet metal worker. The man does have a job. I don't know why they sit there and tell all these lies. Unions condemn wave of deportations targeting organized labor across the country. Okay, now they said a contentious 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court has blocked a federal district court order that would have required the return of wrongfully deported sheet metal apprentice Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia in the United States. Chief Justice Roberts, writing for the majority, focused heavily on what he termed improper venue shopping by the plaintiffs, suggesting they had sought out sympathetic courts to hear their case. Okay, please pay attention. Now, also, SMART union families fight against deportation of worker to El Salvador. Okay, so these people are out here raising hell about all of this. But, you know, like I said, Trump says this man isn't coming back. It says that he's not going to be allowed back into the country, and that's just wishful thinking. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen so you all can hear what Miss Bondi had to say. And they've been going in, by the way. She said the debate's over. It's not up for discussion, pretty much. She says that he's illegal and he's not coming back. And she's adamant about it, and so is Trump.
He is an illegal alien who has been living illegally in our country from El Salvador. ICE testified. An immigration judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. An appellate judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. He should not be in our country.
big topic over the past few weeks, Abrego Garcia in Maryland. He's in a prison now in El Salvador. He was sent there. You insist, the president, everybody in the administration insists that he is MS-13. It appears that there's not going to be any sort of trial. He's not going to come back. DHS said he would be arrested and redeported if he comes back. Why not show the American people the evidence that he's MS-13 so they can make an informed decision? And that goes the same with this Henry Josue Santos, who was picked up in Virginia, who is now presumably going to be deported as well. Why not show the public the evidence?
Well, he is an illegal alien who has been living illegally in our country from El Salvador. ICE testified, an immigration judge ruled he was a member of MS-13, an appellate judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. Hard stop, he should not be in our country. He was deported. They needed one additional step in paperwork, but now MS-13 is characterized as it should be, as an FTO, as a foreign terrorist organization. So he is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back. There was no situation ever where he was going to stay in this country. None. He would have come back, had one extra step of paperwork, and gone back again. But he's from El Salvador, he's in El Salvador, and that's where the president plans on keeping him.
Well, I guess you all heard that. She said what she said. The bottom line is he's not coming back, honey. These people are crazy. They're insane as far as I'm concerned, honey. But let's go to this next report. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Congressman Jimmy Gomez. He's a member of the Ways and Means Committee and the Select Committee on Intelligence. Congressman, Senator Van Hollen is being praised by some fellow Democrats for his trip.
Hold on, and let me just read this comment. DSP says Trump is definitely a damn fool and not a very smart fool at that. Hilarious. Okay.
The administration seems to be more than happy to keep this case and immigration in the spotlight. And some Democrats are saying the focus should stay on issues like tariffs, the economy, and high prices. So I want to ask you the question we just talked about in the panel. Are Democrats playing into Trump's hand here?
This is an issue that's, they're all connected, right? The rule of law and due process protects individuals. Doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter if they're a citizen or a resident. They are protected. But the rule of law also tells people around the globe that you can do business in the United States, that you can invest here. There's going to be due process and a way of how business is done. They know that if they invest money, it's not going to disappear. They're not going to be shook down for a bribe. That's what the rule of law does. So it's not just about individuals, which it is, but it's also about bringing resources and money and investment to this country. And let's also look at what other countries are doing. They're issuing warnings to their citizens who are visiting this country. That's directly impacting our economy as well. Canadians, they used to make up 40% of all foreign travelers to Las Vegas. That is way down. And what I'm hearing from individuals that work in the culinary union and people who work in the hotels, that they're cutting hours to literally zero. So they're basically unemployed, but still listed as employed. So
this is all so nefarious. Hey, Lisa, thank you for your kind contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. All right. Shout out to my dear sister, Lisa Cabrera. Okay. And you all should be following her channel. I've told you 1,000 times. I know many of you are. Okay. So just listen to this foolishness. And no matter what, they keep trying to gaslight and deflect and keep on saying this man is MS-13. They have not shown any proof. Trump's idea of proof is a Photoshop picture, okay, that I showed y'all days ago. It's a hot mess.
So the rule of law is about our rights, but it's also about creating an environment that people know that they're going to be safe in their person, their families, but also in their investments and in their businesses.
Yeah, the uncertainty is really something. In the last week alone, I think I personally have had someone from Australia, South Africa, and El Salvador ask me whether or not I think it's safe for them to leave the country. And frankly, I've said, I don't know. I also want to ask you, last week you rallied with Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez on their LA stop of their Fighting the Oligarchy tour. It drew an estimated 36,000 people, according to the Sanders team. The pair have drawn thousands at rallies in all kinds of states, blue states, red states alike. They're delivering a really simple argument that the Trump administration helps the rich get richer while working class people scrape by. One of the big criticisms of Democrats in this last election is their message wasn't clear. Their point of view wasn't clear. Do you think that's why this tour is resonating with people? And why aren't we seeing more Democrats lean into that?
I think one of the things that we have to do is really just talk about the issues. One, cost of living is too high. People can't afford to buy a home. They're struggling with paying rent, childcare. How do we help them out? Donald Trump, that's what he campaigned on, reducing the cost of living on day one. He failed. It's gone actually in the opposite direction. So when we do that, we're also saying we're for you. Additionally, we have to tell them we're willing to take on the billionaire establishment in DC that has taken root, and willing to make sure that we can defeat it and pull it out by root and stem. And when we do that, people come to us. If you look at how I campaigned, you look at Chris Deluzio, Pat Ryan, we use the same message: reduce the cost of living, take on the establishment to do it. And that's what we need to do, because it says to the American people, you're our priority, not the special interest.
But doesn't that go back to what I just asked you about Gavin Newsom's criticism? You know, due process is really important and it's part of the Constitution. But when you're talking about getting people to the polls, if you give them an option of a complicated due process argument and money in their bank account, being able to pay rent, being able to feed their children, which one of those is more effective?
Well, remember, we have to do it all at the same time. One thing is you want to talk about the economy, but the issue of due process is resonating with people that wouldn't be normally on our side. So Joe Rogan, he spoke on his podcast about how horrific this is, because if it can happen to a legal permanent resident, what happens if there is a left-wing government, not a right-wing government, but a left-wing government that says you're too conservative, you are a white supremacist, and we're going to deport you instead, right? The shoe can be on the other foot very quickly. So I think that you can do both at the same time.
And see, I want you all to pay attention, because that's exactly what I've been saying. The shoe can be on the other foot just in a matter of time, okay? Now, y'all listen to what he's saying, and that's what I'm talking about. Now, at the end of the day, if anybody gets shipped up out of here when he's talking about criminals being sent over their necks, we already know that it'll be the ones who look like us. They'll start with the ones that are already in prison. And here's the thing. I told you all. Now, I want you all to pay attention, because here's the plan. This is what I wholeheartedly believe, okay? This is what I wholeheartedly believe, that Trump is likely going to try to purchase land over there in El Salvador, have a prison built over there, and then usurp the Constitution and send people over there. And it'll be a private prison where he and his billionaire friends will invest in it, and they'll make lots of cash. Okay, and I'm quite sure that President Bukele will also get a few coins. Okay, now I can't substantiate this, but this is what I'm telling you, what I absolutely think is the plan. And also, they could enact martial law, okay, to get a whole bunch of mess started for a whole bunch of people, specifically people who look like me. Y'all need to be paying attention and listen to what this man is talking about, because I keep telling y'all, this isn't just about Abrego Garcia, all right? This is about the Constitution. Like, Trump's just doing away with it. He's doing whatever he wants. And if he gets away with one thing so serious, something like this that's so detrimental, he'll just turn this whole country upside down, which he's already got it sitting sideways, if you ask me.
All right. I also want to ask you, you're leading more than 50 House Democrats calling on the president to reinstate a Path to Citizenship program he ended last month. This is an Obama-era program that provides essentially funding for nonprofits that help lawful permanent residents become naturalized citizens. Do you think you're going to get any traction there? Do you think you can convince the administration to keep this program going? And do you know why they're dismantling it?
One, this is a program that was the funds were appropriated by Congress. We actually have increased the amount of money because people believe, hey, if you're in this country, you're an immigrant, we want you to assimilate. What's a better way to assimilate that actually become a citizen of this country? So the Trump administration is stopping funds that should be released. Is the Trump administration, why are they stopping it? Because they don't believe that immigrants should be here, period. And anything that goes to help them, they're going to get rid of that money. Do I think it's going to, they're going to change their mind? Probably not. But you know what? We're going to keep raising the issue because this is something that people need to know about. Because I think in the end, people want to see people come to this country, learn our language, learn our ideals, believe in our country, but also eventually, hopefully, become a citizen of our nation.
All right, Congressman Gomez, thank you so much for joining.
Now, with that all being said, if you agree with the fact that Trump sent this man over there and refuses to allow him back into the country, then you agree with a person being abducted and trafficked, because that's what that is. Okay, that man was snatched up out of here like 12 years a slave and taken somewhere where he's forced to do free labor. Please pay attention, with absolutely no due process. All right, that man was free and now he's in captivity. Okay, now with that all being said, let's talk about the next order of business with Trump's nefarious low down self. Okay, and here's the thing right here. And this is something else that I brought up days ago. And then somebody said, well, you know, we shouldn't be worried about Harvard because they're nefarious. And again, I keep telling you all to look at the big picture. This isn't just about Harvard. If Trump can do this to them, he can do it to any of these colleges and universities. And this is an elite college. He's starting off with the big dogs. What do you think he's going to do to the little ones? Okay, please pay attention. Now, let's talk about it, because Trump's administration demands that Harvard give it reports of anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias amid fresh $1 billion threat. Okay, now he's doubling down. He's still going in on them. So the Trump administration is demanding Harvard University give it access to all of the university reports on anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias, okay, on the campus that's been generated since October of 2023, as it ramps up a confrontation with the school that risks billions in federal money amid a broader push to bring elite U.S. colleges in line with its political ideology. Now, remember, I told you all last week that Trump wanted to put himself on the board, okay, at Harvard, and they would not let him. He wants to dictate what they teach, how they teach it, and he wants them to vet their students, the ones that are enrolling in Harvard. He wants them to vet them even more strictly, he says. He wants them to know their ideology, their religious ideology and beliefs. Okay, he wants them to find out beforehand if these people are anti-Semitic, because that's what he's saying, that they're anti-Semitic. Now, what you need to pay attention to is this. Look at what he's doing here. He's taking away funding from this school. Now he's threatening to go after their tax-exempt status, okay, their 501c3 status. He's threatening to go against that, all because he's saying that they are allowing anti-Semitism on their campus. Now, think about that. One group of people gets all of this stuff done for them, gets all of this defense done for them, gets people's funds withheld and all of that. But meanwhile, back at the little old ranch, the black folk who look like me, we don't even have an anti-hate crime bill, and nobody seems to care what happens to us. Okay, nobody seems to care what happens to us. I want you all to pay attention. Now, with that all being said, hold on for just a second, because there seems to be a bit of a back and forth going on in the chat between OG Patrice and Jay Missack. Jay Missack, I don't know who you are, beloved, but you need to stop going in back and forth with OG Patrice, okay, who is a loyal royal. I don't know if you are or not. I've never seen you in the chat, but you're being disruptive. I don't want to have to block anyone, but I don't mind doing so. Okay, so please stop the banter. Okay, if you're trolling, I would implore you to stop. All right. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Now, Trump is, like I said, he's going after their tax exempt status, and this would be a huge problem. Okay, this would be, Jay said, it's not me, Queen. Okay, well, if it's you, OG Patrice, if y'all are going back and forth, please stop. Okay, let's not distract from everybody trying to get the information. Okay, so now here's the thing. At the end of the day, this is very problematic, because if he takes their tax exempt status, what does that mean? It doesn't just mean that they will, lose money, but it also means that when they go to purchase supplies for the school, when they go out and purchase different things, computers, whatnot, books, desks, whatever, just different things for the university, they're not going to be able to get discounts on that because they usually have like a credit card or what have you, where you can, or a debit card or whatever. They usually have a card they can use that basically has a number on it where they can get tax exempt when they go and purchase things on that account. Okay. How do I know this? Because this is what they did at a college where I was a professor at before. Okay. So with that all being said, they won't be able to get those discounts. They won't be able to avoid paying taxes on these items. Not to mention, this is going to make people who donate money to them think about it. See, the money that Trump's withholding, okay, they have probably been able to get by with money that they have obtained from donors. But are donors going to be incentivized to donate when they won't be able to get tax exemptions for the money they're giving the university? Likely not. So Trump is just making a whole big mess. And like I said, you may not care about Harvard, but at the end of the day, if he's going for them, what do you think he's going to do to these smaller universities, these smaller colleges? Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, Harvard, which has emerged as a symbol of defiance against the Trump administration across campus and beyond, must turn over all reports generated by school task forces on combating anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias on campus, including drafts that have never been released to the public. A letter on Saturday from the Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights was sent to Harvard leadership. Okay, the letter published by the Free Press also requests the names of anyone involved in preparing the reports and says they should be made available for interviews by federal officials. Now, here's the thing. Is that the letter that Trump's administration allegedly sent to Harvard by mistake? Or are they just now trying to claim that it was a mistake? We'll get into that in a second. Now, the letter is among the latest twists in the Trump administration's escalating fight with Harvard over institutional oversight and independence. Now, it comes as some Jewish organizations and students at Harvard say the White House's recent threats from pulling research funding to ending its eligibility to host international students are not making them safer or more welcome, but instead, as some of them said, it's making them pawns in a broader political agenda. So even the Jewish students are complaining about Trump's foolishness. And something else I want you all to know. When Trump is talking about what's going on at Harvard, when he's talking about this, he keeps on bringing up, let me pull up the picture. He keeps on bringing up the former president, okay, of Harvard. He keeps bringing this lady up. She's no longer there. Why is he talking about her? Why is he calling her name? Why isn't he talking about the current president? Okay, well, he doesn't want to talk about the current president. Okay, why? Because this man is Jewish himself. Okay, this man is Jewish himself at the end of the day. And so that would just pretty much make Trump look stupid, because he's trying to act as though they're allowing room for anti-Semitism. But mind you, Alan Garber is Jewish himself. He took office January the 2nd of 2024, succeeding Claudine Gay, the lady that Trump keeps talking about. Okay, that's what he keeps doing. All right, so he's full of crap. There is no anti-Semitism going on that is being left unchecked. Do you really think this man himself would allow it to be so? Okay, so Trump's just a liar who lies. Now, the Trump administration has said that it would freeze more than $2.2 billion in grants and contracts after the Ivy League school refused to submit to demands, including to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, ban masks at campus protests, enact merit-based hiring and admission reforms, and reduce the power of faculty and administrators. Okay, according to the White House has said, they're more committed to activism than scholarship. This is what they said. Okay, so another $1 billion in federal health research contracts to Harvard could also be withheld. So that means if they have any animals or whatever they were going to be using for research, they're going to have to euthanize them. That's what that would mean, more likely than not. Now, the Wall Street Journal reported over the weekend as the Internal Revenue Service is making plans to rescind the tax-exempt status of the university, and the administration has threatened Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. So they can't even enroll foreign students? Do you all hear how this is all sound like? This is absolutely insanity. Okay, other universities, including Princeton, Cornell, and Northwestern, also have seen federal funding paused amid similar demands. See, this is what I've been telling you. Okay, he's not going to just stop at one university. He's not just going to stop with these big, these elite universities. He's not going to stop there. He's going to continue. Okay, this man is dangerous. This man is very, very dangerous. Okay. Now, the threat of rescinding a further $1 billion in federal money follows the White House's fury after Harvard made public an April 11th letter from the federal task force to combat anti-Semitism, demanding that it allow federal government oversight of admissions, hiring, and the ideology of students and staff, like I told you, on top of other demands laid out in a prior letter. People familiar with Harvard's response said that they gave this information on Sunday. Okay, CNN reached out to Harvard and the White House for comment. Harvard strongly rejected the Trump administration's demands in the April 11th letter. Okay, with school president Alan M. Garber saying that in an April the 14th letter to the academic community, the university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Now, this is a Jewish man saying this. Okay, but Trump's trying to act like he's trying to help them. He's just being a bully and a devil. Now, the demands go beyond the power of the federal government, and the majority represent direct governmental regulation of the intellectual conditions at Harvard, rather than combating anti-Semitism. Okay, that's what the university president said. This is not about anti-Semitism. Trump's full of crap. Okay, that's basically what he's saying. Now, anticipating rocky relations with the incoming administration, Harvard back in January hired high-powered lobbying firm Ballard Partners, and a source confirmed to CNN the relationship is ongoing. Now, Ballard has deep ties to Trump and previously employed White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and Attorney General Pam Bondi. Now, the latest back and forth between the U.S. government and America's oldest university marks a sea change in how the Trump administration intended to engage Harvard, okay, according to the Journal. Now, before the April 11th letters released, the administration was planning to treat Harvard more leniently than Columbia University. But now officials want to apply even more pressure to the nation's most prominent university, according to the people, according to the people. Now, they say people familiar with Harvard's response say there was no agreement to keep the letter private, and that its contents, including requirements that Harvard allow federal government oversight of admissions, as well as hiring and the ideology of students and staff, were a non-starter. Okay. Columbia University, on the heels of President Donald Trump's revocation of $400 million in federal funding over campus protests last month, made policy changes in a dispute over federal funding, including restrictions on demonstrations, okay, new disciplinary procedures, and immediately reviewing its Middle East curriculum. Although it has prompted a furious response from the university, the letter sent to the university April 11th may not have been meant to be sent at that time. Okay, that's what they're now trying to say. All right, that's what they're now trying to say. Oh, it was sent by mistake. So let's talk about it. I think they're full of crap as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I think they're totally full of crap. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. They said it was sent completely by mistake. You all be the judge.
By the Trump administration to Harvard University with a list of demands was actually sent by mistake. The email was sent by Acting General Counsel of the Department of Health and Human Services, Sean Keaveney. White House officials say the list of demands was sent prematurely or was meant to only be circulated among the White House Anti-Semitism Task Force. The Trump administration froze more than $2.2 billion in federal funding after Harvard publicly rejected the federal government's demands to scrap its DEI programs and share all of its hiring and admissions data. Trump's team is also pushing back by preparing to revoke the university's nonprofit tax status.
Here's the thing. They know darn well they didn't send that letter by mistake. In my opinion, they sent the letter because that's what they meant, and those were the demands they were making. Now they're upset and trying to walk it back like, oh, it was a mistake. How many mistakes are they going to make? Seriously. How long have they been in office? Has it been 100 days yet? But at the end of the day, I think they're just trying to walk it back now, simply because they got backlash, okay? And because the letter's been exposed. They didn't intend for them to show it or share it or talk about anything publicly that's in the letter, but they did, okay?
And the school's ability to enroll foreign students. Harvard researchers bracing for possible layoffs may have to euthanize their research animals due to the lack of federal funds. A public standoff between the White House and America's oldest and richest university, which has a massive $53.2 billion endowment, might be a fight that President Trump wants to have. Joining now is Harvard psychology professor Steven Pinker. He's the co-president of the Council on Academic Freedom at Harvard. He co-wrote a recent op-ed for the Harvard Crimson with the headline, "From CAFA Leadership, Harvard Must Not Submit to a Hostile Takeover." Professor, nice to have you back on the program. Given the New York Times reporting today that this email that set off this chain reaction was sent in error, I'm wondering, others are wondering, could this all have been avoided?
It absolutely could have been avoided. Harvard had already been in negotiations with the federal government when this letter dropped, I should add, on the night before Passover, on a Friday night, with a list of absolutely unhinged demands, basically a hostile takeover of Harvard by the Trump administration, while negotiations have been going on based on a much milder earlier letter.
In the Crimson, you co-authored a piece that has this paragraph. I'll put it on the screen and I'll read it aloud. Take, for instance, the administration's Orwellian demand that the university, quote, commission an external party which shall satisfy the government, federal government, as to its competence and good faith to audit the student body, faculty, staff, and leadership for viewpoint diversity, such that each department, field, or teaching unit must be individually viewpoint diverse. I said in my opening commentary today, I find that at odds with traditional conservatism. Expand on that paragraph and why you put it in your piece.
Exactly. Now, by the way, on the Council on Academic Freedom, we do think that there should be greater viewpoint diversity at Harvard. The faculty are too concentrated on one part of the political spectrum. On the other hand, bringing the government in and micromanaging a private university to satisfy their demands for viewpoint diversity, and we have no idea what that is, would indeed go against any conservative principle of limited government. Does it mean that the government can force the medical school to have anti-vaxxers? Can it force the biology department to have creationists? Can it force the history department to have stop the steal ideologues? Even if viewpoint diversity is a good thing, and it is, and there should be more of it, but having the government dictate what that means is terrifying.
Will you respond to the comment, and I heard it from radio callers on Sirius XM this week, who say, let them tap their endowment?
Well, the 80% of the endowment is earmarked by its donors for specific uses, for endowed chairs for professors, for scholarships for students, for the athletic facilities. So the donors have stipulated what it can go for. It's not a piggy bank that can be cracked open. Also, the research that the government supports was competitively reviewed from applications. And it's not like a charity that supports Harvard in general. There are specific research projects. If the funding goes, then those research projects stop. Now, Harvard could try to dip into its savings to pay for what used to be federally funded research in cancer and child development and so on. But eating its seed corn means that it would disappear, and that could only be sustainable for a short period of time.
Is President Trump winning this battle in the court of public opinion? At the outset of the program today, I don't believe I argued that his motives here are to protect Jewish students. I do believe the university was flat-footed initially in responding to anti-Semitism, but my thesis is he's using this as a means of fighting academia in the same way that he's fighting big law and the same way that he's fighting big media. Your thought?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I'm a Jewish faculty member, and the idea that we should defund cancer research to advance Jewish interests, I don't think that's so good for the Jews. And as my grandmother would say, Duncan dear, no thanks. That's not an effective way to combat anti-Semitism.
Okay.
I think Harvard should have cracked down on some of the more disruptive pro-Palestinian protests, but the idea that Harvard is a bastion of anti-Semitism is just unhinged. 3 out of our last 4 presidents who served longer than a year were Jewish, and the 4th was married to a Jewish professor. 2 of our last 3 provosts were Jewish. The head of the corporation that runs Harvard is Jewish. There are plenty of Jewish faculty, Jewish students. Hillel is thriving. There are anti-Semitic incidents that should have been cracked down on more decisively, but the idea that this is the way to combat anti-Semitism just makes no sense at all.
None whatsoever. Trump's a complete idiot. Okay, everyone should know that by now. Okay, so with that all being said, we're going to talk about Hegseth in a minute, but let's talk about Queen says JD Vance is right, and we really don't need nothing from them because number one, they've been putting poisoning in our clothes and our food. Are you talking about China, beloved? Well, you know, I don't know if they've been putting poison in our clothes and food. Maybe they have, maybe they have not. But what I do know is that the U.S. does that. Okay, so if China does it, so does the U.S. You mean to tell me you've never heard of GMOs? You mean to tell me you don't know about the nefarious goings on in this country? For example, ammonium thioglycolate, which is a chemical that's used for hair relaxers for women who look like me, which causes cancer and fibroids, amongst other things. Okay, this is put into hair care products for Black women. You don't think that's by design? This is all done in the US, okay? Like I said, we could talk about all the healthcare concerns that people have: high blood pressure, diabetes, strokes, heart attack, heart disease, okay? Fatty livers. All right, high cholesterol, all of these ailments, cancers, of a myriad of different types of cancers. Where do you think all this stuff comes from, beloved? Because the U.S. is absolutely poisoning our food. Okay, I'm sorry, it's true, and other things as well. So please pay attention, honey. It's not like, oh, we need to stop dealing with Canada or with China, I mean, because they're doing X, Y, and Z, when the U.S. is doing X, Y, and Z themselves. And here's the thing. First off, the United States, or the FDA, allows things to be produced here and sold here that are absolutely illegal in other countries. And why are they illegal in other countries? Well, because they're poisonous, okay? Because they're absolutely poisonous. Some of these things that are put in our products that we consume are in fact not healthy for you at all, have no nutritional value, and are very dangerous, okay? Life-threatening in some cases. Let's talk about the fluoride in your toothpaste. Let's talk about fluoride being put in the water. Did you know fluoride is the main ingredient in rat poisoning? Did you know that it's used when they put together a nuclear bomb? It calcifies the pineal gland, which we all need to be functioning properly if we want to be awake and highly conscious and intelligent, okay, and be able to use and to access our spiritual gifts, okay? So with that all being said, you know, they put bleach in things like flour and sugar. Why do you think they're white? Because they're bleached. And they do that so when these things are stored and stacked in warehouses, rats won't eat them. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. If the rats won't eat them, why would you? If the rats have sense enough not to eat it, why should you? Try to feed your dog or your cat some chicken nuggets or a piece of a burger from McDonald's and see if they eat it. I promise you they will not. Okay, but y'all eat it. So I'm just saying. Anyway, with that all being said, let's talk about Pete Hegseth, because he's a whole fool. Now, once again, he has given out information in a chat leak. So let's go to it. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. This is all nefarious. It looks like we have a bunch of bumbling idiots at the wheel. Meanwhile, Trump and his fools are talking trash about people that they deem as DEI hires.
Pete Hegseth responding. The embattled defense.
And then here's the thing. For someone who asked me why I hate Trump, again, I don't hate Trump, but I don't like him, and I definitely don't like what he's doing, okay? And some of you may think that he isn't racist. Well, you know, even if he isn't racist, guess what? He's pushing a racist agenda. That's absolutely what he's doing. Okay, he's pushing a whole racist agenda. So whether or not you think he's racist, what you can't deny is that he's not out here pushing racist agendas. Okay, please pay attention. And making excuses for his fumbling idiots of staff members when they keep making all of these mistakes. He calls it a witch hunt. He just tries to dismiss it and act like, oh, they were supposed to do that. We meant to leak those chats. We know exactly what we're doing. Okay, but no, they don't. This is the blind leading the blind. Okay, this is the prime example of the blind leading the blind. And by that, I mean Trump leading a bunch of blind idiots that are foolish enough to follow him.
Secretary just spoke, seeming to attack some of his closest former advisors and the media after we learned overnight that he shared detailed military plans in a second Signal chat. This one included his wife and his brother. Let's get right to CNN's Natasha Bertrand in Washington for the latest on all these very new, very significant developments.
Good morning, John. Yes, we confirmed last night that Secretary Hegseth did have a second Signal chat that included his brother, his wife, and his lawyer, in which he disclosed sensitive details about U.S. military operations against the Houthis in Yemen. This was around the same time as that first Signal chat that was disclosed last month, when the editor of The Atlantic was accidentally included in a Signal chat that Hegseth had with other cabinet officials. This, of course, is different. It was on his personal phone, and we are told that this was a group chat that was set up as part of his confirmation process so he could kind of strategize with his closest allies. But he continued using that chat, we are told, after he was confirmed as Secretary of Defense. And ultimately, he did end up sharing information about military plans with the people on that chat, many of whom, including his wife, did not have an obvious need to know about these military operations. Now, Hegseth did issue his first public comments about this just a few minutes ago from the White House at the Easter egg roll.
If you want to get your name, phone number, and address off the internet, but want to handle the removals yourself,
this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
So two things, John. First, neither Parnell, his spokesperson, Sean Parnell, his spokesperson, nor Hegseth there are actually denying the substance of the story, that he did have this Signal group chat that included his wife, his brother, and his lawyer. They are instead blaming it on disgruntled former employees, which is the second point here. Dan Caldwell and Darren Selnick, two of the officials that Hegseth fired last week, they actually were some of Hegseth's closest advisors over a decade. And one of the officials that left the Pentagon last week, John Olliott, who was until last month Hegseth's top spokesperson, he is saying publicly in a new op-ed that he wrote in Politico last night that it's been a month of total chaos at the Pentagon. And he said it's hard to see Defense Secretary Hegseth remaining in his role for much longer. John?
And yeah, he definitely shouldn't remain in his role much longer. Okay, he should have been gone the first time he made that mistake that could have cost soldiers their lives. Okay, this is very serious business. And at the end of the day, the fact that Trump is just trying to play it off and act like it's not anything serious, and Hegseth is sitting there trying to act like, oh, I didn't do anything wrong, this is old news, and these are just some disgruntled employees who are no longer here, former employees or whatever, he's full of crap. Okay, they all are.
Yeah, that statement from the secretary right there, in the immortal words of Ben Bradley and All the President's Men, a classic non-denial denial right there at the White House. Natasha Bertrand, thank you very much. Kate?
No, and just looking down, as he said, returning the Pentagon to warfighters, John Olliott actually said in the past month, what they have been going through is not returning the Pentagon to warfighting, but just it says the Pentagon focus is no longer on warfighting, but on endless drama. That from his former spokesperson. Joining us right now to talk more about this is Jane Harman, the former ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, I recall you saying after the first Signal scandal broke that it should remind everyone that complacency invites catastrophe, and now news of a new Signal group chat and new controversy. What's your reaction to this?
Well, this would be a good news day to accept Hegseth's resignation. I mean, all the news is about this extraordinary pope that we just lost, and so it might be buried. I can't imagine how he survives this. His key staff, as you just reported, has been fired by him. Some of them were on the second call. There are rumors that there may have been as many as 20 calls on unsecured platforms. I mean, that is, I don't know what you call it, tradecraft 00.1. You don't do this. And I can't imagine that Congress will defend him at this point. I wonder if the president will defend him. He's embarrassing the president. So I think there are two questions. One is when he resigns, but the second one is who will accept the job, who is really competent, given this history and given the chaos at the Pentagon. Let's just look at what Marco Rubio said. He just said that this draft executive order taking away half his department, this draft executive order was in the news the last 2 days, is fake news. So what this looks like is cabinet secretaries don't make decisions. They are made somewhere else, Project 2025 or who knows. And I can't imagine that the capable people out there who are Republicans who could run the Pentagon would want the job.
One thing we know, just the latest this morning, is coming from the White House press secretary saying that the president still has full faith in Pete Hegseth. We know with the president that can change quickly, but that is the first response from them on this latest Signal chat. On top of this, you have a top advisor until basically days ago of Pete Hegseth, a former Pentagon press secretary for Hegseth, calling this whole thing a month of chaos. This is this op-ed that Natasha Bertrand was just referencing, and two parts I want to pull out. Number one, saying it's hard to see Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth remaining in his role much longer, to the point that you were making. And also this, even strong backers of the secretary like me, this is from John Uliad, me must admit the last month has been a full-blown meltdown at the Pentagon and is becoming a real problem for the administration. And just from your perspective, what does it do when a secretary's longtime advisor, his deputy chief of staff, the chief of staff to the deputy secretary of defense, they all get pushed out of the Pentagon in the midst of all of this?
Well, I recently chaired the Commission on National Defense Strategy. We said unanimously, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, that this is the most dangerous time in terms of national security since 1945. If I were any one of America's enemies looking at our country, I would think, this is my opportunity to do any number of things. Think massive cyber attack in the US. I worry a lot that we could have a cyber 9/11 any day. We've already, in the Pentagon, fired a well-qualified 34-year in the military, 4-star head of the National Security Agency who also headed US Cyber Command. Just pick that one thing. And most of the qualified women at the top, too, who are doing excellent jobs, including being 4-star members of the military as well. Got to put that in. And so if I'm China, Russia, anywhere, I think I've got open season on the U.S. And look at what Russia's doing in Ukraine. Russia is toying with the United States and obviously toying with Ukraine. And it is an absolute tragedy to see a place where which was invaded in violation of international law after Russia promised repeatedly to respect its sovereignty, suffering this way. Ukraine is still fighting back. Europe is going to step up and fight for Ukraine. But now that we have a casual comment from, I think it's our vice president, that we may not continue to pay attention to Ukraine, I think that's hugely damaging and really threatens U.S. national security in another way.
Yeah, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying on Friday, if it is not possible to end the war in Ukraine, we need to move on, and then more from there. Jane, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in as always. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, so You all heard it, okay? Trump's just doing the most. Anita says, I'm not trying to be funny, but she reminds you of Mrs. Doubtfire. Yes, she did actually put you in the mind of Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay, so now with that all being said, this is a group of incompetent people who've taken over the White House, who've taken over the country, as far as I'm concerned, and are just doing the absolute most, okay? And China is not here for any of it, because this isn't looking like a smooth transition, okay, with China at all, according to experts. And China is basically not here for any of it. They've been warning, okay? Xi Jinping has basically warned other nations not to do any deals with the United States. Okay, we're going to be blackballed in a minute, folks. Please pay attention. Okay, please pay attention, honey, because Trump is a whole idiot.
Well, breaking news this morning, China is warning other countries from making any trade deals with the United States, as countries like Japan and South Korea have begun negotiations with the Trump administration. China's Commerce Ministry releasing a statement saying, quote, China firmly opposes any party reaching a deal at the expense of China's interests. If this happens, China will never accept it, and it will resolutely take countermeasures in a reciprocal manner. China is determined and capable of safeguarding its own rights and interests. Joining me now is Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for China Strategy, Fox News contributor, and author of the 100-Year Marathon, Michael Pillsbury. Michael, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So, what do you make about this? Again, these are threats. This is language that is coming from the CCP, that they're going to find a way to circumvent the United States, make deals with others, strong-arm other countries.
Well, one of the big debates among American China experts over the last few years has been how strong are the hardliners around Xi Jinping. He's portrayed himself as a moderate and kind of a balancer, with the pro-Mao kind of left-wingers on one side and then the hardliners on the other. When this kind of statement comes out, Cheryl, it's a sign to us that Xi Jinping is under pressure. He's got to say something.
Ever wondered what your home looks like from space? Enter your address and get a 360-degree satellite view of your home right now.
Something anti-American. They already say a lot of anti-American things, that we're on the decline, that we're corrupt. There's even been a couple of Chinese books that we're going to fragment into pieces. It's kind of the equivalent of our idea of the collapse of China. They've got a theory of the collapse of America. So he's under pressure. There's some rumors coming out of Beijing that there's some sort of power struggle going on, that the sons of a couple of leaders who were reformers are now criticizing Xi Jinping on the one side, and then the other side is the hardliners could be much stronger than we thought. This is not good news for us. They did seem to soften, Cheryl, last week. They said, well, if Mr. Trump would just name a point man, one person to represent him, then they would start the talks. I somehow think that's not true. That's kind of the reformers trying to speak up. But Mr. Trump still has not named the point man who's going to be in charge of the talks. Last time, as you know, it was Bob Lighthizer at USTR, sometimes Treasury Secretary. But this is not looking like a smooth situation with the Chinese at all. It's looking the opposite. That it's I'm getting more pessimistic about the talks getting going.
Well, the South Koreans are coming this week, so there's at least those discussions underway. And we know that the Japanese have been here. But one of the things that China is doing, and this is interesting, they're not returning 2 Boeing MAX airplanes to the U.S. Beijing ordered their airlines not to take any deliveries of Boeing aircraft in response to the tariffs. But these 2 planes were already at a field in China. CCP says, send them back. And then in the auto sector, Ford is stopping shipments of some of its most popular cars to China because they want to avoid the reciprocal tariffs on U.S. goods. Now, the Trump administration is moving forward with plans to put fees on Chinese ships at our ports in an attempt at breaking China's dominance on global shipping, Michael. What do you make of these latest moves?
Well, it's an escalation, Cheryl. I think President Trump was kind of trying the sweet approach, referring to Xi Jinping many times, including during the campaign, as my friend Xi Jinping. But what President Trump has had to do in the last month is keep raising the tariffs. They just won't come to the table. This all happened again in the first term, when it took a year to get the first round of talks starting. So I'm getting pessimistic. As long as we don't get a phone call from Xi Jinping or he doesn't stop these negative gestures toward us, it's just not looking good.
Interesting, Michael. Liz Peek is on set with me. She's got a question for you.
Good morning, Michael. There's an article in the
Hi, Liz.
Financial Times this morning about some of the big companies like Alibaba in China trying to source more material out of small factories in China. I'm hearing factories are closing all over China.
Yeah.
People are being laid
Yeah.
off. That seems to me to be the big pressure point. What do you think? Are they, the Chinese consumer is historically and famously reluctant to buy or to up their purchases, but can this initiative from Alibaba and other companies actually take hold?
You're quite right. I've been watching Chinese television over the last couple of days. They are covering layoffs, factories closing, the number of containers that are not moving at all. So the Chinese Communist Party line in the last few days has been to highlight, look how much we're suffering.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, Liz, Xi Jinping has got his own power base. There's something like 500.
How many times have you given up on yourself and on your weight loss journey because it felt daunting?
100 families or so who are the owners or the beneficiaries of the state-owned enterprises. And they're the ones who are going to will be hurt the most if there's a deal with President Trump to drop tariffs. So we've got this so-called 500 families group that it doesn't care that much about layoffs and unemployment and the container ships being stopped. So I'm afraid we're going to see more negative gestures come out of Xi Jinping as he tries to reassure his base, Liz. The Make China Great Again base is very concerned about these numbers.
Hong Kong's
Hold on,
oldest and
beloved.
largest pro-democracy political party, they're going to be disbanding. Beijing obviously has more control over this city. Hong Kong was kind of one of those last, I guess, entry points, if you will, that seemed to be open, and it looks like that's going to be shut as well.
Yes, the big factor at play here is the delisting comment that our Treasury Secretary made just hypothetically, that we may have to delist Chinese stocks. You've been talking about this for many years, Liz and Cheryl. It's really the $1 trillion worth of capital that they get through the New York Stock Exchange. If we do delist them all at once, that's supposed to help Hong Kong. But I noticed recently the Hong Kong market people are talking about how this will hurt Hong Kong. They cannot absorb that much capital all at once. So this is a very effective threat that our Treasury Secretary has made, and I think we're seeing some reactions to it. Again, it's a pessimistic sign that that it has to go this far, and we still can't get China to come to the table for negotiations.
Yeah, Maria has made that point many times about the fact that you've got multiple Chinese companies that are listed on American exchanges, and she's brought that up many times. Yeah. Real quick, with regards to Iran, I do want to ask you this because this kind of goes back to that axis of evil, if you will. So Iran's foreign minister is set to visit China tomorrow, and there's nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran that just happened over the weekend. Those are supposed to continue. The foreign minister visited Russia last week, saying that Iran always closely consults with friends, Russia and China, over the nuclear issue, Michael. So these alignments, if you will, China, Iran, Russia, are they strengthening right now? Or do you think because of the Ukraine situation, Russia's going to pull back? Where are we right now, the state of play?
Iran keeps seeking promises from China that they will purchase gas and oil and other things from Iran. They'll have a stable sort of market for the next 5 years, despite the threats from Israel and America. This is for the last 10 years or so. I tried to cover this in a 100-year marathon, Cheryl. This axis of these countries getting together on an anti-American basis, it's really dangerous for us. And in terms of sanctioning, you mentioned sanctioning of American congressmen and senators over Hong Kong. The sanctions are also on Dan Sullivan of Alaska. He wants to reopen the ADAK, A-D-A-K, the island and make it into a really powerful base for our forces, especially air forces, against China. So they're after him now. I notice the Chinese press picks out people it wants to demonize. And Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska, retired Marine Corps colonel, he's their new punching bag. So they're picking out individual congressmen and attacking them. Yes, you're right. And Iran, it seems to be a quasi-ally of China. We just don't seem to be able to split the relationship between Iran and China.
That's why these talks got so much tension over the weekend, and they haven't really produced results yet. Michael Pillsbury, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you so much for being with us. All right.
Thank you, Cheryl.
We'll be right back.
Do this 7-minute indoor walking for deep.
Okay, so with that all being said, China is not backing down. Okay, people are getting sick of Trump. And now, like I said, they're telling these other nations not to be doing any deals with the United States. And as to what he said, when he's talking about these other nations, you know, Trump is making a lot of enemies around the world. Okay, and how do you think that's going to fare for all of us? Okay, we're going to be in World War III pretty soon. Please pay attention. Okay, Trump's got us halfway there at this point. Okay, he's got us halfway there. All right, so Vince I.M. says, does Trump have any leverage? Something else is going on, and I can't wait for the full disclosure of the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth. Well, you know, Trump thinks he has leverage. Okay, he thinks he has leverage, but I don't think that he does with China. Okay, that's just my opinion. And BRICS is getting stronger. They now have 10 nations amongst them, and they're coming up with their own currency. Okay, so it's going to be all bad for the United States. And also, someone said something about they're concerned for a cyber attack. Okay, absolutely, that's what we all should be concerned about. And I've told you all that, and I've warned you about it plenty of times. Okay, specifically a cyber attack on the power grid, that could be disastrous. Okay, so please pay attention to what all Trump's got going on. But right now, I want to go to this video. I just saw this from 13 hours ago, where Representative Green is talking about a bombshell on Trump over the art of the steal. Not the art of the steal. Okay, hold on, beloveds. Let me share my screen. Hear what Senator Green is talking about.
Because he disrespects the judiciary. When he loses a case, it's always the judge's fault. And what is amazing to me is that I have colleagues who are buying into that it's the judge's fault. Let's impeach the judge because it's the judge's fault. Always the judge. Always the judge. Never his fault. Always the judge. When we start this process of having the person who holds the highest office in the land continually say that judges are not fair when they're dealing with him and things that he would have done, when we allow that, we are now sending a signal to the rest of society that the judges are the reason why we're not succeeding, the reason why we can't have whatever it is that we want and can't acquire, and we have to take it to court. It's always the judges. At some point, people will have a disrespect for the law and the process that will cause others to disrespect the country. People invest in this country because they know that we have a good judiciary, that it is a process that has been in place and that will be honored. They invest in this country also because they know that your money is safe here. You invest in our bills, our bonds, it's safe. We have stability.
Okay, so I've heard enough from him. Now let's talk about Trump's own cousin, Mary Trump, okay, who's repetitively talked about how dangerous Trump is. Okay, so let's get into it. This is his own blood relative. Please pay attention.
As convicted felon Donald Trump nears the end of his first 100 disastrous days in office, it's been a choose-your-own adventure of terribles. From seeking retribution against his political enemies, ignoring the rule of law, the cruelty being the point, to his beautiful tariffs bringing us closer to a recession if we aren't there already. If only there had been some kind of warning of what was to come, perhaps from someone who would know, like a family member.
If we are unfortunate enough to put him in the White House again in 2024, it would be an unthinkable tragedy. This man has one policy position, and it's to keep himself out of prison. He's incapable of changing. And if we let him anywhere near the levers of power again, that would be one of the worst mistakes this country could ever make. And I believe at that point, the American experiment would be over.
Joining me now is that very smart woman, Mary Trump, the host of the Mary Trump Show podcast, the author of Who Could Ever Love You, a family memoir, and someone that I am proud to call a friend. Mary, you've warned us repeatedly in your books, your interviews, on TV, on radio, anywhere you could. You've warned Americans repeatedly about who your uncle is. As we near the end of his first 100 days of disaster, as I'm calling it, are things turning out just as you anticipated or even worse?
First of all, Katie, it is so wonderful to be with you, and I'm proud to call you my friend and honored to be on your show. I don't like saying I told you so, and I'm certainly am not the only person who has been sounding the alarm, but those of us like you who have been paying attention since the beginning should not. Honestly, I think we have no right to be surprised. And this is all unfolding as we were told it would. And I think the only thing that is shocking, even for those of us who were paying attention, is the comprehensiveness and rapidity with which the United States government and American democracy are being dismantled.
So, Mary, though, throughout it all, you've stayed in the fight. And listen, if there was anybody who could have said, you know what, peace out, I'm going to go kind of, be over here, you let me know. You haven't done that. You've stayed in the fight. You continue to encourage those to do so as well, others to come into the fold and continue to be a part of that fight. What advice do you have right now as we near the end of these 100 days, these first 100 days? People feel kind of hopeless, and all they see are just negative headlines.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of negativity, certainly. I completely understand why people would feel demoralized or hopeless or exhausted or tapped out. But I think it's important to remember that that's exactly what Donald and the Trump regime want. Their onslaught is purposeful. And one of the goals of it is to render those of us who are still in the fight kind of inoperative in some ways. We cannot allow that to happen, obviously. And also, I think we need to remember that this is a long fight. Obviously, what has been happening is horrific and for many people unimaginable. It's going to take a while to adjust to what it is a new reality. We live in a very different America from the one Donald Trump inherited on January 20th, 2025. But just as their plans to carry out the worst that they can manage against us and our country took a very long time, we have time to organize. Now, we can argue that this should have happened already, of course, but there's always hope. There's always hope because there are more of us than there are of them. And our cause is the righteous one. And secondly, we see the Trump regime, it's run by a bunch of incompetent people who do not understand the fire with which they're playing. And they are overplaying their hand. And Americans who don't typically pay attention are starting, I think, to wake up.
Yeah. Okay, she said that Trump's regime is being run by incompetent people. Yes, absolutely. And Tim Hegseth is definitely one. And in fact, the main one, in my opinion. Okay? Look at him. We the people tattooed on his arm. He needs to really sit down somewhere. I find it all interesting.
And recognize the new landscape we're living in, and most of them don't like it at all.
You know, Mary, I like to say often that we are capable of walking and chewing gum, meaning we do not have to be focusing on only one issue. We can focus on many. And the one that obviously strikes me, you know, in my core is always the attacks on the rule of law. I am trained as a lawyer. It's something that I believe is being kind of the last bastion of a line of defense when it comes to democracy. And yet it's so on brand for Trump to do that, right? There's a reason why I call him convicted felon Donald Trump. He's a convicted felon. And so when you see these relentless attacks, when you see what's happening with Kilmer, Abrego, Garcia, and the stuff that comes out like on the official White House accounts on social media, your thoughts about whether or not we truly find ourselves in the midst of a constitutional crisis?
Well, Katie, I'm a layperson. I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but personally, I think we've been in a constitutional crisis since in November 2024, 74 million people decided to hand over the keys of power to a man who is an insurrectionist and a traitor to this country. That, for me, was the original constitutional crisis. Essentially, what happened is that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was rendered completely inoperative. So now I think we have a new constitutional crisis, and in many ways, it is an infinitely more dangerous one because, as you and Joyce and others have said, we are looking at a situation in the United States of America in which nobody, including American citizens who were born here, no longer have habeas rights, no longer have a right to due process. And we are looking at a situation which will lead, of course, to the fact that there is no rule of law in America anymore. And I think we can thank the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court for deciding that Donald Trump deserved an imperial presidency.
Mary Trump, it's good to see you. I'm grateful always that you take the time and you spend the time to educate us and to make us better and smarter for it. And thanks for being such a good friend. I appreciate it.
Katie, thank you for everything you do.
Okay, so now with that all being said, Trump's doing whatever he wants, and his own family has gone in on him, okay? A myriad of times. This lady's been telling the truth about Trump for quite some time now. Now, this is Klaus Schwab, okay, the founder of the World Economic Forum in Davos, okay, supposedly stepping down. Right, the chairman of the annual Alpine Jamboree of the global elite is stepping down at the age of 87. Now, the World Economic Forum has kicked off a search for a new chairman after confirming the organization's octogenarian founder was stepping down. Klaus Schwab, age 87, who is synonymous with the organization that he set up in 1971, said that he has decided to step down as chairman of the board of trustees with immediate effect. Now, the move comes less than a year after Schwab resigned as the organization's executive chairman after more than 5 decades. The board of the Geneva-based institution has appointed Peter Brabeck-Lamath as its interim chairman until a permanent successor is found. Now, it acknowledged the achievements of Schwab, who created the leading global platform for dialogue and progress. Members of the board of trustees include Christine Lagarde, president of the European Central Bank, Mukesh Ambani, chairman and managing director of Reliance Industries, Larry Fink, chief executive of BlackRock, the assistant manager, and Al Gore, the Democratic former vice president. Now, leaders have been gathering at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, since Schwab, a professor at the University of Geneva, chaired a gathering of 440 participants back in 1971. It has since become a fixture in the calendars of the global elite. Now, the annual Jamboree, which takes place in the Alpine town in January, has grown to about 2,750 delegates drawn from politics, business, finance, as well as academia, charities, and the arts. Its remote location has long been a selling point. 3 hours train or bus from Zurich or a helicopter transfer from Zurich Airport means that once delegates arrive, they're likely to be distracted by the outside world. They're unlikely to be distracted by the outside world. okay, because it's in a place that's, got it pretty much isolated or off to itself. Now, the gathering has proved remarkably resilient to the backlash against global elites, exemplified by President Trump's first electoral victory in 2016. Baseless online conspiracy theories and public antipathy to the mythical creature known as Davos Man have so far failed to dent the forum's allure. In the year to June 2024, the organization pulled in revenue of almost 440 million Swiss francs, okay, a quarter more than in 2019. Now, in a statement, the World Economic Forum said, at a time when the world is undergoing rapid transformation, the need for inclusive dialogue to navigate complexity and shape the future has never been more critical. The Board of Trustees of the World Economic Forum underlines the importance of remaining steadfast in its mission and values as a facilitator of progress. Okay, so there you have it, beloveds. All right, that's the news for now. I'm about to conclude this broadcast. At the end of the day, y'all's president is destroying this country single-handedly. He has a bunch of idiots at the wheel along with him. Pete Hegseth, when is he going to learn? Do these people all just do whatever the hell they want? Okay, rules, laws, policy, legislation be damned. Because that's what it looks and sounds like. And the thing for me is, why aren't the Democrats doing more? Why aren't they doing more? Okay, we have Senator Chris Van Hollen going over there to El Salvador, but it would have been a much better look if many of them got together and went over there on a trip. Okay, it would be a whole lot better if the Democrats really do something about Trump. Because like I told you all yesterday, if they wanted to, the federal judge has already found him in contempt. And if they wanted to, they could send the marshals in there to handcuff Trump and escort him out of the Oval Office right now. They could do it. Okay. Doesn't matter that the Republicans have control of the House and Senate. They could absolutely do it. They just refuse to. All right. And this is the problem I have with the Democrats. And this is why Trump's in office, because the Democrats sometimes just sit back and won't do what they need to do. Terry Hinn said Cory Booker and others are going to El Salvador. Yeah, they've said they're going. We'll wait and see. Yeah, they absolutely have said that they're going. So we're going to wait and see. But at the end of the day, they need to put a stop to Trump. Trump needs to be impeached. I'm calling for his impeachment right now. Okay, because he's just really going to lead us into something catastrophic. Okay, please pay attention. There's a World War III is coming. I'm pretty certain of it. And then not to mention all of this other BS that's going on. Okay. He might end up having everybody involved in a civil war. Okay. Please pay attention. This is all crazy. So with that all being said, that's right. Terry Hinn said the 25th Amendment, honey, they need to invoke the 25th Amendment and let JD take over, even though he might not be much better, but he can't be as crazy as Trump is, can he? Okay. I seriously doubt it. Okay. I seriously doubt it. But they would only likely invoke the 25th Amendment if Trump fell ill or something like that for whatever reason, couldn't perform his duties. How about they go and arrest him, put him in handcuffs and walk him out, and then invoke the 25th Amendment? How about that? Okay, so with that all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you all have got something out of the broadcast. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Double check to make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving notifications. And also don't forget to check out the morning broadcast if you missed it. There's a video on the spiritual channel. And also don't forget to check out that video about Shannon Sharp, honey, because Shannon straight told on himself. I don't care what he says. Shannon told on himself. Okay, so please check that out. Anyway, I love you all to life, and I will talk to you all again soon. All right, until then, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Soul all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen.
queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got